This is the Besorah, and I just want to thank you, Holy Elohim, Holy Father Yahuwah, Holy Yahusha, and Ruach HaKodesh. Thank you for helping me to read your word. This is Bereshith, Genesis 1. In the beginning, Elohim, High or Mighty One, created Aleph Tau, the Shemaim, the skies and the heavens, and Aleph Tau, the Arets. And the Arets, the earth, was formless and empty, and darkness was on the face of the deep, and the Ruach, the breath, or the breeze, of Elohim was moving on the surface of the Mayim, the waters. And Elohim said, "Let light come to be." And light came to be, and Elohim, Aleph Tau, saw the light, that it was good. And Elohim separated the light from the dark, and Elohim called the light Yom, which is day, and the dark he called Layla, which is night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first Yom. And Elohim said, "Let space come to be in the midst of the Mayim, and let it separate the Mayim from the Mayim." And Elohim, Aleph Tau, made space, and separated the Mayim which were under the space from the Mayim which were above the space. And it was so. And Elohim called the space Shamayim. And there was evening, and there was morning, the second Yom. And Elohim said, "Let the Mayim under the Shamayim be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. And Elohim called the dry land Arets, and the collection of the Mayim he called Yamim, seas. And Elohim saw that it was good. And Elohim said, "Let the Arets bring forth grass, the plant that yields seed, and the fruit tree that yields fruit according to its kind, whose seed is in itself, on the Arets." And it was so. And the Arets brought forth grass, the plant that yields seed according to its kind, and the tree that yields fruit, whose seed is in itself according to its kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the third Yom. And Elohim said, "Let lights come to be in the space of the Shamayim, to separate the Yom from the Layla." and let them be for signs and appointed times, and for yomim, which are days and years. And let them be for lights in the space of the Shemaim, to give light on the Eretz. And it came to be so. And Elohim made 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the Yom, and the lesser light to rule the Layla, and also the stars. And Elohim set them in the space of the Shemaim, to give light on the Eretz, and to rule over the Yom and over the Layla, and to separate the light from the darkness. And Elohim saw that it was good. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning, the 4th Yom. And Elohim said, let the Mayim teem with shoals of living creatures, and let birds fly above the Eretz, on the facial surface of the Shemaim. And Elohim, out of Tau, created great sea creatures, and every living creature that moves, with which the Mayim teemed, according to their kind, and every winged bird according to its kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. And Elohim blessed them, saying, bear fruit and increase, and fill the Mayim in the Yamim, and let the birds increase on the Eretz. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning, the 5th Yom. And Elohim said, let the Eretz bring forth the living creature according to its kind, livestock and creeping creatures, and beasts of the Eretz, according to its kind. And it came to be so. And Elohim out of Tau made the beasts of the Eretz according to its kind, livestock according to its kind, and all that creep on the Eretz according to its kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. And Elohim said, breathe into Neshah, Adam, which is humanity, a shared essence, with shared character, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the Shemaim, and over the livestock, and over all the Eretz, and over all the creeping creatures that creep on the Eretz. And Elohim, out of Tau, created the man in his essence. In the essence of Elohim he created him. Male and female, he created them. And Elohim blessed them, and Elohim said to them, bear fruit and increase, and fill the Eretz and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the Shemaim, and over all creatures moving on the Eretz. And Elohim said, See, I have given you, Aleph Tau, every plant that yields seed which is on the face of all the Eretz, and every tree whose fruit yields seed. To you it is for food, and to every beast of the Eretz, and to every bird of the Shamayim, and to every creeping creature on the Eretz, in which there is life, Aleph Tau. Every green plant is for food, and it came to be so. And Elohim, Aleph Tau, saw all that he had made, and see, it was good. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning, the sixth Yom. And that is the end of Bereshith, Genesis 1. And this is Bereshith, Genesis 2. Thus the Shamayim and the Eretz were completed, and all their array. And on the seventh Yom, Elohim halted his work, which he had done. And he rested on the seventh Yom from all his work, which he had made. And Elohim blessed the seventh Yom, and set it apart, because on it he rested from all his work, which Elohim in creating had made. These are the births of the Shamayim and the Eretz when they were created. In the Yom that Yahuwah Elohim made Eretz and Shamayim. Now no shrub of field was yet on the Eretz, and no plant of the field had yet sprung up, for Yahuwah Elohim had not sent rain on the Eretz. And there was no man to till the ground. But a mist went up from the Eretz, and watered the entire surface of the ground. And Yahuwah Elohim formed the man out of dust from the ground, and breathed into his nostrils breath of life. And the man became a living being. And Yahuwah Elohim planted a garden in Eden to the east. And there he put the Adam, the human, whom he had formed. And out of the ground Yahuwah Elohim made every tree grow that is pleasant to the sight and good for food, with the tree of life in the midst of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And a river went out of Eden to water the garden. And from there it divided and became 4 riverheads. The name of the first is Pishon. It is the one surrounding the entire land of Keilah, where there is gold, and the gold of that land is good. Aromatic resin is there, and the shoham, onyx stone, and the name of the second river is Gihon. It is the one surrounding the entire land of Cush. And the name of the third river is Cadakel. It is the one which goes toward the east of Ashur. And the fourth river is the Pharah. And Yahuwah Elohim took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and guard it. And Yahuwah Elohim commanded the man, saying, Eat of every tree of the garden, but do not eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. For in the yom that you eat of it, you shall certainly die. And Yahuwah Elohim said, It is not good for the man to be alone. I am going to make a helper for him, as his counterpart. And from the ground Yahuwah Elohim formed every beast of the field and every bird of the Shemaim, and brought them to the man to see what he would call them. And whatever the man called each living creature, that was its name. So the man gave names to all the livestock and to the birds of the Shemaim, and to every beast of the field. But for the man there was not found a helper for him, as his counterpart. So Yahuwah Elohim caused a deep sleep to fall on the man, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs, and closed up the flesh in its place. And the rib which Yahuwah Elohim had taken from the man, he made into an asha, and he brought her to the man. In Hebrew, asha means female. In English, the word woman means wombed man. And the man said, This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. This one is called Asha, because she was taken out of Ash. In Hebrew, Ash is a male or man. For this cause a man shall leave his father and mother, and cleave to his Asha, and they shall become one flesh. And they were both naked, the man and his Asha, yet they were not ashamed. That is the end of Bereshith Genesis 2. This is Bereshith Genesis 3. And the serpent was more crafty than any beast of the field which Yahuwah Elohim had made. And he said to the Asha, Is it true that Elohim has said, do not eat of every tree of the garden? And the Asha said to the serpent, we are to eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden. But of the fruit of the trees which is in the midst of the garden, Elohim has said, do not eat of it, nor touch it, lest you die. And the serpent said to the Asha, you shall certainly not die. For Elohim knows that in the yom you eat of it, your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be like Elohim, knowing good and evil. And the Asha saw that the tree was good for food, that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree desirable to make one wise. And she took of its fruit and ate. And she also gave to her husband with her, and he ate. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together, and made loin coverings for themselves. And they heard the sound of Yahuwah Elohim walking about in the garden, in the cool of the yom. And Adam and his Asha hid themselves from the presence of Yahuwah Elohim among the trees of the garden. And Yahuwah Elohim called to Adam and said to him, where are you? And he said, I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked. So I hid myself. And he said, who made you know that you were naked? Have you eaten of the tree of which I commanded you that you should not eat? And the man said, the Asha whom you gave to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I ate. And Yahuwah Elohim said to the Asha, what is this you have done? And the Asha said, the serpent deceived me, and I ate. And Yahuwah Elohim said to the serpent, because you have done this, you are cursed more than all livestock, and more than every beast of the field. On your belly you are to go, and eat dust all the yomim of your life. And I put enmity between you and the Asha, and between your seed and her seed. He shall crush your head, and you shall crush his heel. To the Asha he said, I greatly increase your sorrow and your conception. Bring forth children in pain. And your desire is for your husband, and he does rule over you. And to the man he said, because you have listened to the voice of your Asha, and have eaten of the tree of which I commanded you, saying, do not eat of it. Cursed is the ground because of you. In toil you are to eat of it, all the yomim of your life. And the ground shall bring forth thorns and thistles for you, and you shall eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your face you are to eat bread until you return to the ground. For out of it you were taken. For dust you are, and to dust you return. And the man called his Asha's name Kua, because she became the mother of all living. And Yahuwah Elohim made coats of skin for the man and his Asha, and dressed them. And Yahuwah Elohim said, see, the man has become one discerning to know good and evil. And now, lest he put out his hand and take also of the tree of life, and eat and live forever. So Yahuwah Elohim sent him out of the garden of Eden to till the ground from which he was taken. And he drove the man out. And he placed cherubim at the east of the garden of Eden, and a flaming sword which turned every way, to guard the way to the tree of life. And that is the end of Bereshith, Genesis 3. This is Bereshith, Genesis 4. And Adam knew his Asha, and she conceived and bore Cain, and said, I have gained a man from Yahuwah. And again she gave birth to his brother Habel. And Habel became a keeper of sheep, but Cain became a tiller of the ground. And it came to be, in the course of time, that Cain brought an offering of the fruit of the ground to Yahuwah. And Habel also brought of the firstborn of his flock and of their fat. And Yahuwah looked to Habel and his offering, but he did not look to Cain and his offering. And Cain was very wroth, and his face fell. And Yahuwah said to Cain, why are you wroth? And why is your face fallen? If you do well, is there not acceptance? And if you do not do well, sin is crouching at the door, and its desire is for you, but you should aduni it. And Cain told Habel his brother. And it came to be, when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Habel his brother, and killed him. And Yahuwah said to Cain, where is Habel your brother? And he said, I do not know. Am I my brother's guardian? And he said, "What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. And now you are cursed from the Eretz, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. If you till the ground, it shall no longer yield its strength to you. You shall be a fugitive and a wanderer on the Eretz." And Cain said to Yahuwah, "My punishment is too great to bear. See, you have driven me from the face of the ground today, and I am hidden from your face. I shall be a fugitive and a wanderer on the Eretz. And it shall be that anyone who finds me kills me." And Yahuwah said to him, "Well, if anyone kills Cain, vengeance is taken on him sevenfold." And Yahuwah set up a sign for Cain, lest anyone finding him kills him. So Cain went out from the presence of Yahuwah, and dwelt in the land of Nob, on the east of Eden. And Cain knew his Asher, and she conceived and bore Canak. And he built a city, and called the name of the city after the name of his son Canak. And to Canak was born Arad. And Arad brought forth Mahuyel, and Mahuyel brought forth Methushal, and Methushal brought forth Lamech. And Lamech took for himself 2 wives, Nashim. The name of one was Ada, and the name of the second was Silha. And Ada bore Yabal. He was the father of those who dwell in the tents with livestock. And his brother's name was Ubal. He was the father of all those who played the lyre and the flute. As for Silla, she also bore Tubal-Cain. A smith of all kinds of tools in bronze and iron. And the sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. And Lamech said to his wives, Ada and Silha, hear my voice. Wives of Lamech, listen to my words. For I have killed a man for wounding me, even a young man for hurting me. For Cain is avenged 7-fold, and Lamech 77-fold. And Adam knew his Asher again, and she bore a son and called his name Sheth. For Elohim has appointed me another seed instead of Habel, because Cain had slain him. And to Sheth, to him also a son was born, and he called his name Anush. Then humanity began to call on the name of Yahuwah. That is the end of Bereshith, Genesis 4. And that is the end of this video. Praise you, Elohim.